Hello guys, today I was going to do another what if, my second what if on my channel. This one is what if Queen Monarch never gave over her throne. I thought this would be a fun one, and let's get into it. It was the most interesting day of her life when Queen Wasp came to her kingdom, saying Clearsight had chosen her as the queen. But if that was the case, why had she chosen Wasp? Was it because she was the oldest? No, this had to be a lie. She wouldn't have chosen Wasp of all dragons, and she wouldn't have chosen anyone to rule all the tribes. Would she? This made Queen Wasp absolutely furious. So the next couple days, she sent out patrols and spies. Queen Monarch and Queen Sequa were good, yet Queen Wasp's army was huge, and their tribes were small compared to that. Even when they allied, nothing. But all of the hive wings sent out had white, pale eyes. It was disturbing and unnatural. But for the last couple days, they spent their time not worrying about that, but fighting off the spies. Most of the spies were captured and interrogated, yet some of them managed to get the word out, and when the word did get out, it wouldn't be good news for Sequa or Monarch. But after having dealt with many of Queen Wasp's spies and patrols, they had time to focus on what happened. Why did the hive wings have pale white eyes? It was unusual for a hive wing. Not all of the patrols had this, but the majority. Almost like they were being controlled. Could that be it? Could she be controlling them? Is that why they're so powerful? Yet, there was nothing to prove any of this. Except, they did have a couple hive-wing soldiers they could interrogate. So, they did. They didn't get much information except for the fact that Queen Wasp could control her hive wings, which was unsettling yet good to know for the future. The morning after the interrogation, didn't go so smoothly. She spent her time working out patrols to spy on Queen Wasp. Sequa did as well. With the two of them sending out their spies, they weren't able to get a whole lot of information out of Queen Wasp before Queen Wasp spotted them immediately, and the both of them died. She cared about every scale of her silk wings. And I'm sure Sequa felt the same, but this war would have many casualties if they continued to do this day after day. So they needed to have a better plan. They couldn't simply set up spies to be conveniently caught by one of her soldiers or Queen Wasp herself. Well, there were a couple hive wings that she interrogated, claiming they didn't want to be doing this. Yet, how could she know? But one hive wing in particular stuck out. One that claimed they couldn't be mind-controlled by Queen Wasp, and they were loyal. Apparently, one of Sequa's Leafwings had encountered this dragon and could, in fact, say she couldn't be mind-controlled. Why was this? Was it something they ate? Their diet? But they could stop that, right? They could fix it, couldn't they? Was there any real cure? Or once they did it, would it be done for them? No matter. She trusted Sequa. And if Wasp wanted to, she could just find their location right now. And she hasn't so far. And this was also their best hope. But would they be able to handle such a task? Well, perhaps they could go into the hives, get some information? No. Would that work? Possibly. But since they left the hive, would they be on wanted posters? They weren't supposed to? Apparently this dragon's name was Cricket. Cricket was a bubbly little hive wing. But she seemed brave enough for it, and she agreed. And this silkwing, his name was Blue, offered, or rather begged his queen to go, which, fine. The two of them set off, along with another dragon named Luna. Luna was actually Blue's sister. So the three of them set off. And they were able to get a lot of information. So apparently the hive wing eggs were injected with some sort of plant? I have never seen that before. None of my silkwings have. And most of the leafwings haven't. Except for Queen Sequa. We heard this story about an odd plant at the beginning of time when dragons first came to Pantala. From bees all the way to crocodiles, things were controlled into attacking dragons? Perhaps Wasp was using the same exact thing. But right before they were about to execute their interrogated prisoners, which totally against Sequa's idea, they were being mind controlled as they were carefully escorted to their death. Again, Monarch was against this idea, but anyway, it was for the benefit of them in the war. Queen Wasp finally found out where they were hiding. And, well, that wasn't good for them. And so, Queen Wasp seemed to have a plan. Yet, no one knew what that plan was. Because our spies kept getting caught. But Queen Wasp managed to catch one of the few flame stokes. It was Blue. Cricket was pretty devastated. Seems like they had a bit of a friendship going. But they would get him back. Until Queen Wasp had infected Blue. I thought it was just hive wings. That's what we all thought. Except it worked on all the tribes, turns out. We figured that out after a few of Sequa's soldiers were captured. But what would they do with one of her flame silks? One of the silk wings, one of the flame silks, The next day, the forest was burnt to the ground. Dragons were fleeing to Dragonfly Bay. And so, Queen Wasp and her army wouldn't let this chance up. So, they had to travel to the distant kingdoms. Of course, it had to be real. There had to at least be an island where they could stay, possibly. It did. There was a place. Not a welcoming place, though. So, when they arrived, all they found was an icy biome. Frozen cold. And then, it looked like a snow dragon? Apparently they were called ice wings. And Queen Snowfall volunteered, not really, under heavy persuasion, help them. And they were thankful for this. Yet they were far from safe. A couple days later, Queen Wasp followed after. They stopped at one of the dragon cities. And it was peaceful until they found a scavenger, or rather, as Ren calls it, a human that can talk? No way. Cricket was astonished by this discovery. Everyone was. She had her own dragon. His name was Sky. A sweet skywing. And they had to send out a couple dragons from each tribe to go find out what's happening, how to stop the breath of evil, and how can we save everyone. This dragon, apparently called a Nightwing, her name was Moon. She had a vision that all of the dragons on this island on both continents would be destroyed if they didn't do something. She didn't know quite what it was, but probably the hive wings. Of course it was. They sent out their dragons, and that's where they were now. On their way back to Pantala. Because Apparently, in another one of Moon's so-called visions, there was an empty abyss, and that's where you could find the answer to everything. Of course, Moon didn't know quite what this was, probably because she wanted to be all cryptic, Snowfall said. Monarch wasn't so sure about this. Sequa either, but this was their best shot at fixing everything. So, they did it. A couple days later, the dragons came back. And everything was fixed. Nobody was able to be controlled anymore. Eventually, all the Pentalian dragons returned. Everyone was back the way they were supposed to be. And some Hivewings still wanted to take command and still wanted the war to keep going, which, who would want that? Yet, it didn't last very long. And soon after, all of the tribes were in peace again. Some were still absolutely infuriated again. And Silkwings and Leafwings would never exactly be allies, per se. But there was no more war between the tribes, and that was good enough. Right? So, the Leafwings started planting more trees. Well, everyone did. The Hivewings weren't exactly fond of this idea, but all of them, in the end, ended up pitching in. Queen Monarch and Queen Sequa were still amazing queens. And the new queen of the Hivewings was Queen Jewel. She was a lot more fair than Queen Wasp, and didn't look like she would try to start any wars anytime soon, which was a relief after what happened. The kingdoms were rebuilt after the massacre. The Leafwings were at their highest point, grand as ever, with a huge kingdom, grown by some of the strongest leaf speakers. It was gorgeous, and the Silkwings rebuilt their home too. It was also pretty massive, not quite as big as the Leafwings, but it was nice. Everyone was happy, and that's all Monarch really wanted in the end. She had loved her mother. She loved everything. And she was glad she got the chance to be a wonderful queen to her tribe. She hoped she was a wonderful queen. She felt like it. And she hoped her tribe felt the same. And that was enough for her. She was happy, and eventually she passed it on to her daughter. Her daughter was a glorious queen. And as Monarch got really old, she just loved to admire how much her tribe has grown ever since then. And she always is there to appreciate it. She always wants to appreciate the beauty of her tribe. What was once complete war is now replenished forests. The forests, they were flourished with many, many different species of birds and leopards, all kinds of big cats and other animals roaming their habitat. The leaf wings, like the poison jungle, after all, it was where they've lived for a long time, but of course, it wasn't the safest place for them to live. It wasn't abandoned, but they rebuilt their kingdom elsewhere. And that's it. I really hope you guys like this one. This is my second ever one, and I think probably my best. The last one was pretty basic, and yes, this is original. And I thank you for watching. Thank you. This was really hard to do, and it took a lot of time and definitely a couple hours, but I hope you guys enjoy, because I enjoyed making it. And I really needed to upload some content. Oh gosh, I barely upload anymore, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. So, see you in the next video, and little bit of information about the Infection AU, episode 3. Either Vortex's soon to be renamed Iris once I get to it, probably later today. Just because I already have a puppet named Iris. So, yeah. I just don't want it to get too confusing. But, again, hope you enjoyed watching, and goodbye. The information. It's either going to be Iris's companions or vengeance. Maybe wildfire. But anyways, I'll put up a poll so you guys can vote what you want. If anyone votes. But anyway, see ya. You can watch the rest if you want to continue the speed paint. Not quite a speed paint, but whatever. Bye.